Yeah, Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22. 10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, dancing all around. Throwing as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
All right, today we're joined by a very special guest, a man who's been a player, a coach, a commissioner, and now leads the West Texas Desert Hawks into the 2024 season with the AFL. Thank you for joining us, Coach Siegfried. How are you doing this morning or this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this thing. My first question for you, you're an offensive mind. I mean, you've been an offensive coordinator several times throughout your career. Will you be calling plays for the Desert Hawks in 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to getting back on the field and coaching these young men up. It's been about 10, 11 years. So excited for this opportunity to get back on the field and, see if I remember anything about arena football.
Yeah, Coach, it's really great to see you. I remember when you used to come up here to visit the Math Pirates. So you getting back on the sidelines, obviously, your owner, Zach, he's a younger guy. Jawad was a younger guy. How much rewarding is it for you to see younger owners kind of evolve through their ownership careers?
They bring a different perspective to the game, which is great. Speaking of Jawad up there in Massachusetts, albeit they're in another league now, but he had a very good vision. He's very creative. He's very in touch with the social media side of things. I love their uniforms, the field, just the whole look of what they do has always been creative. And I wouldn't even say outside the box, just kind of more edgy than what the traditional teams have done over the course of the season. So, he does a great job. And obviously being a young guy that played quarterback for a long time in multiple leagues. So as far as Zach, Zach took over for a team, the West Texas Warbirds, that were in the National Arena League. I've got a little familiarity with, and that's how I was able to meet Zach. And what I've enjoyed about Zach is really just how ingrained he is, number one, with his family, his wife and girls, and in the community. And when he flew my wife and myself out there to Odessa a few weeks back, number one, it was important that he flew my wife out, which I didn't necessarily ask him to do that. That was important. But number two, I wanted to get to know him as a person, because when I was coaching previously, a lot of times ownership and coaches didn't really see eye to eye. I don't want to say see eye to eye, but they just didn't, in my experience, I didn't have close relationships. I had very good relationships with almost every owner that I worked for. Worked for a young man named Brady Nelson out in Spokane, and that was one of the best experiences I had. But one of the things that we both regret, because we kind of rekindled the relationship a few years ago when he and his family moved to Charlotte. He was the original Spokane Shock owner, for those that aren't aware, is we just didn't communicate very well, and he was a young first-time owner, and I was a, veteran coach at the time, but still pretty young. And looking back at it, I'd certainly regret not having a more communicative, I don't know what the word describes it, not having better communication between the two. We didn't have bad communication. We just didn't communicate a lot about the business side of things. And he let me coach, and, he obviously was the owner. But this time around, I felt it was very important that, for Zach Bugg and his family, this is his vision, and I made it very clear that it's his team. Of course, I want to represent him the way he wants to be represented. But I just said, whatever happens, I said, because I'm sure there's going to be somewhere along the lines that I upset you for some reason. Just be open with me. Tell me what it is. Don't be afraid to talk to me. And I'd like to be able to have that kind of relationship so that we're always on the same page when it comes to, the end game, which is number one, keeping him to have a sustainable, viable business in the Odessa Midland area. And the fringe benefit on that is I have an opportunity to continue coaching. So it's a win-win, but I can only control the football operations side of things. And I think that I have a little bit of an experience background in that regard. So I'm hoping to put the best product on the field that this league's going to be able to see.
Absolutely. I have no doubt you will do quite a good job in 2024. But being the commissioner of the NAL, obviously you're tied in with many coaching staffs across all sorts of leagues at this point. So I'm curious, when you accepted this position with the Desert Hawks, did you already have a coaching staff in mind, or is that something that's kind of formed as time has gone on since then?
It's still forming. I've had the benefit of getting to know a lot of these guys in the National Arena League, the coaching staffs and the players and whatnot. But it's been an interesting transition because, for example, they were seeing me in a different role. I was representing the owners directly, as the commissioner of the National Arena League. So I was kind of like the heavy hand that, had to come down and find players and stuff like that. So, I had the opportunity on Thursday, the 16th, when we were up in New York City to, have some great discussions with the guys up in Albany. Coach Ware, who we didn't really talk a lot last season, and Coach Hollis, who was a DB, for a long-time DB, and Darius Prince, one of their star players. And it's all I can say. It's just different now because now I'm not like – there's no agenda. There's just, I'm going to coach, trying to, put the best product on the field. And I had the opportunity for the first time to really talk to those guys in a different light, which hopefully they feel the same way. If they don't, then, nothing I could really do about it. But it was actually more refreshing because then there's no, they don't have to worry about what they say or what they do because I'm not with the league anymore. So, that part of it's been kind of nice, stepping away from the game and then, fortunately getting an opportunity to come back as a coach again. That's nice.
So, Coach, I kind of see how you're building this team. And I know outside of football, you're involved with real estate. So how did your real estate background help you when recruiting players?
So when I stopped coaching in the Arena League previously, I was up in Pittsburgh and then a few weeks here in Orlando, and that didn't work out very well for me. I needed to transition into something because at the time I felt like I needed the football. I needed the income from football to survive. And getting into real estate has allowed me to not have to rely on other income sources, if that makes sense. So I'm going to still maintain my real estate license here in Florida, and I'll do more referral type of work. But it's allowed me the opportunity. Let me back up a little bit. I've kind of always said to myself internally, if I got back into coaching, it wouldn't be all about the money, meaning it's not going to be something there that if Zach decides to fire me in 3 weeks, that it's going to affect my family. I'm not at that position anymore. So that doesn't mean I'm going to do it for free. I'm not, but I'm just in a different space in life and in business, and that's a good thing. And I feel like I know in my heart that West Texas is going to get the best version of me as a football coach. And that's how I feel about it. Now, how many wins that translates to, I guess only time will tell.
Well, speaking of wins, in terms of building a roster, you brought in two of the most impressive quarterbacks in terms of veterans that I've seen on one roster in a long time, and with Charles McCollum and Jonathan Bain. Talk to me a little bit about your thought process bringing in both of those men to compete for the starting job.
Well, the Bain one was kind of interesting. I was just literally checking up on him to see how he was doing. I was at the game where he was injured. I left actually before he got injured in the game last year, and it was just a freakishly weird injury. I visited with him in the hospital because it was here in Orlando, and I was just periodically checking up on him and seeing how he's doing. And the last time that I texted him, he had texted me back, "Hey, I'm doing great. Just got cleared. Can't wait to get back on the field." And I literally just got done interviewing in West Texas, and I was like, wait a second, just got back on the field. So I'm like, I text him back, call me, you know. So we communicated that day, and the father in me came out because I was like, you know, are you really cleared? What did the doctor say? Can I call the doctor? Are you sure you want to do this? You know, what are you thinking? What is your thought process? You know, generally concerned about his health and everything. And you know, he had assured me that he's cleared. He's stronger. He's more flexible. It's kind of, he said his arm strength has actually improved. And, you know, he said he was hungry to get back on the field. And I said, well, by the way, here's what I'm doing. And just one thing kind of led to another. You know, but he's obviously been a great one in the National Arena League, and you know, he's you know his resume speaks for itself. On the flip side, Charles McCollum had signed previously to me, even interviewing, and you know, Charles was a very accomplished quarterback in the National Arena League with one championship to his name and another appearance in the championship game, I believe. He's done a lot in the IFL. I didn't really watch much of his IFL stuff, to be honest with you. It's just such a different game. And I actually, in all the games that he played in the National Arena League, I don't think I ever had one conversation with Charles McCollum. You know, he's always been very businesslike, and, you know, never really had the opportunity to talk to him other than giving him an award at the end of a game one time. So I reached out after I took the job, and one of the first things I did is I wanted to go back and, you know, look at that 2018, 2019 Charles McCollum, and, you know, really kind of take a look at the work that he did back there. And, you know, just the more I watched him, I was like, wow, if he's still got some gas in the tank, that's going to be a blessing to West Texas to have both these young men. So I reached out, had a great conversation with them, was very impressed with them. You know, I just said, you know, hey, you know, I don't know how you feel about me as former commissioner. It is what it is, but, you know, I want to see, you know, I want the best of both worlds, you know. So, you know, it's we're very fortunate to have both of those young men, you know, on our squad out in West Texas, and I think I think it's a massive advantage for us.
So, you know, you're watching this league kind of rapidly grow. And I remember with the NAL expansion, it was little by little each year. How confident are you that all these teams will start up and play the full season in 2020?
In the AFL?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't have any doubts. You know, we've you know, there's a couple teams that were trying to finalize last minute that just didn't get finalized, but they're going to be coming in for 2025. But the 16 teams that we have right now have every confidence in the world that games are going to get played. You know, no doubt about it. And there'll be some big announcements coming in the coming weeks when it comes to our network partners and the games that'll be on television and what days, and, you know, it's going to be exciting.
Looking forward to that for sure. So I'm kind of curious. Obviously, you have a unique perspective coming into the AFL. You were, as we spoke about before, the NAL commissioner previously. At one point, even pitching teams on joining the National Arena League. So I'm curious, what ultimately led you to go from the NAL to deciding to join the AFL?
Well, the decision to resign from the NAL really stemmed from just, you know, 2023 was a very interesting season, and there was a lot of things that had happened on and off the field. Let's just say some of it in social media, and, you know, it just really was like I felt like I needed a break. So, you know, we were on an NAL board call, and I just got to the point where I just didn't feel like my heart was in it, and I'm just the type where if my heart's not into it, I don't think that I'm a good asset for the company at the time. So, you know, I feel like no better time than on the phone call. I wasn't going to hang up and send him a text. I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for everything you guys have done for me. But, you know, my heart's just not into it, and I didn't feel like I could lead them, you know, past that phone call. And I put a lot of thought into it. It was just a lot of things weighing on my mind, and it wasn't 100% about the National Arena League. It was just some things that, you know, I had to, you know, I needed to step away and just kind of reassess. And, you know, to the NAL's credit, for the next few weeks, they had, were talking to me and asking me, to reconsider. And I put a lot, like I said, I put a lot of thought into it. But at the end of the day, I was like, I feel good about my decision. And, my wife, not long after that, was like, you look so much more relaxed today. And so, yeah, it was one of those things where I really enjoyed the time and the people that I met and the experiences that I gained from it were just, I wouldn't give that up for the world. And I didn't have anything set up when I resigned. It just kind of happened. I texted a few people that I officially resigned, and about 4 or 5 days later, my phone started ringing, and one thing led to another. Zach is the first and only team that I actually interviewed with. I had a couple other calls lined up, but I don't like to kind of muddy the water. My wife and I had talked about it, and we really, think highly of Zach and his wife, Mariella. And I said, let me go out to Odessa and let's see what it's all about first. And, and if it doesn't work out, then, we'll talk to some of these other teams. And, Odessa and Midland is a unique market, and they take their football very seriously out there. So I went out there and just kind of, the area kind of grows on you, and started, I believe in what Zach's vision is. It aligns with myself. And the other key component on that is our general manager, who's also going to be, a defensive coach on our staff. And that's Terry Foster. He was actually a very big piece of the pie. Terry was out there working for Zach and for the Desert Hawks for weeks before I even got out there. I remember speaking to Zach about it one time, and he's like, "Hey, Terry, Terry's been doing a lot for me." And I was like, "Well, how's that possible? He's from Myrtle Beach, He's like, "No, he's out here." I was like, "Wait, Terry's out there working with no guarantee that he's going to be coaching or anything else?" He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, that really spoke volumes about the character of Terry Foster. And when Zach and I were, fighting each other for the contract. No, I'm not kidding. Well, when we were in the office, just kind of discussing, my contract details, and, he was talking about the staff, and, we started talking about Terry, and he said, "Hey, don't feel obligated to, bring him on your staff or anything like that." I'm like, anybody that's going to come out here working with no guarantees, I'm like, why would I not want to surround myself? And he's a former head coach. Why would I not want to surround myself with someone like that? So, it was just for me, a match, a perfect match, and we've been very much on the same page about players. And he was elevated to general manager, and he's just, I'm telling you right now, he is knocking it out of the park out there. And I think one of my primary goals is to, hopefully make this organization attractive enough so he doesn't leave, because, he's really setting the groundworks from the business side of things to make, West Texas the premier franchise in the Arena Football League. At least that's our goal.
So you being a former commissioner, Lee Hutton kind of in his first year, how is your relationship with him over time?
Well, so we've had a number of phone conversations, and actually Thursday at the big press release event up in New York City was the first time I actually met him. He had mentioned something, and I think they had seen my picture, so he kind of looked at me to acknowledge, I think that's you. I mean, I knew who he was, but it was a pleasure meeting him, and he's he's a good guy to lead this league moving forward. So I was very, very, excited to meet those guys in person, and, kind of put a name to a face and vice versa. And I know that they've been extremely, extremely busy behind the scenes. And, I've told those guys whatever I could do to help out on the league side, operational side, I'm happy to help. Obviously got the experience. So, whatever they need for me to help them out, I'm happy to do.
I was actually very curious about that, if they had approached you for any help on that side of things, given your experience. How involved with that have you been in the formation of the AFL and the rules development?
Darren Arbett's really, spearheaded the rules side of things. And, we had collaborated, Darren and I a little bit behind the scenes and just kind of get my opinion. And but Darren made it very clear he wanted this to be the original way that arena football was supposed to be played, with Ironman football, the two specialist, offense, defense, and kicking game specialist. So he wanted to bring it back to what we both feel was when this game was absolutely the best, and I think somewhere along the lines in the 2007 was the first year they took away Ironman or the substitution rules. And honestly, looking back in my career, when they took away the Ironman aspect of the game, that was such a huge part of it. My heart started to leave the game at that point in time, because all I knew was Ironman, and I believe this is the way the game is supposed to be played. And so I'm excited to see it go back to old school, which is what we were kind of doing in the NAL. The goal in the NAL was to make it the new Arena Football League, and so I'm proud of what we did there. Bringing back the rebound nets last year and bringing back Ironman the year before that. So. But the good thing on this side of it is I don't have to fight for that anymore. It's here and it's staying. So, I don't have to, I say fight for it. I don't have to argue for it, every year. And I believe this is the best version of the game. People can argue against that, but I guess we'll see.
Coach, my final question for you today is, you've been in this game for a while. Who's your biggest role model?
That's a loaded question. I probably needed some notification on that one. I don't know if there's any single biggest role model, but I really do look up to Darren Arbett and what he's done for the game and how he carries himself. And I am disappointed that he's probably not going to be on the sidelines this year. From coaching standpoint, I want to go against the best, and I feel like he's the best. So I want him back on the field as soon as possible, whether it's 24 or 25, I don't know. But, he's meant a lot to me over the last few years. And, I joke with him that we're from the same hometown, but I was 2 when I left and he grew up there. So I really can't claim Stockton as my home. But, there's a lot of guys that have been influential. Going back to when I was a struggling player, Perry Moss was the first coach that I played for. Now, granted, I was on the practice squad all year. That was 1992. And I really loved what he brought to the table. And he was his mannerisms, I just really enjoyed, playing for him. And then, and of course, less of the time and less is about my age, but he was on the coaching staff as well. And I got an opportunity to work with Les in 2010 in Jacksonville as his offensive coordinator. He got Coach of the Year that year. So I'm actually very proud of that, to be a small part in that. But, those guys have been pretty influential on my life. But there's one other guy that actually, and I know I probably should have limited it to just one, but probably the guy that's equally as influential in my career as anybody. And a lot of people may not remember him, but he's the current Ball State head coach, and that's Mike New. Mike New gave me an opportunity to get back on the field in 2000 and up in Augusta in the first year of the AF2, and it was my last year playing. And I've been really open about my playing career. It wasn't very glorious. I got cut a lot more times than I played, but he gave me an opportunity in Augusta, and probably 2/3 of the way through the season, he started kind of talking to me about coaching. And up until then, I never even thought about it. And he was like, hey, make a good coach. And I'm like, I don't get it. At first, I thought he was telling me that I probably needed to give up the playing part to coach. But he kind of was the one that pushed me over the edge to try out the coaching. And so very thankful for him on that. And a lot of people don't know this, but he's also the guy that gave me E.J. Burt in 2002. He kind of spoon-fed me E.J. Burt, who ended up being the most prolific pass rusher to play AF2 and then went on to break all of Orlando's records, I believe. So, the reality of it is there's just so many guys out there that have meant so much to the sport, and I know I've left out a ton of them, but those three guys have had, Perry Moss in the beginning, Mike in the middle, and Darren Arbette the last, number of years have had a lot of influence on me, and I look up to all three of those guys.
Absolutely. Speaking of EJ Burt, I was kind of curious. You mentioned that you had not ever interviewed with another team, but did Orlando ever reach out to you about potentially being their head coach?
Not really. I texted their owner, and just a lot of moving parts involved, and they were busy getting a lot of stuff together, and so no, I didn't interview. But I actually spent some time with John Chaney up in New York City the past few days, and we actually got an opportunity to talk on a different level. He just remembers me as the commissioner that kept finding the Orlando Predators. So I'm like, hey, I'm not that guy anymore. So but I'm happy for EJ Burt, and they're in our division, so we'll see him a couple times.
100%. EJ Burt coming up next at 4 p.m. Eastern, actually. One last question for you, and then we'll let you get out of here. The state of Texas is obviously a football powerhouse, no matter which level you're looking, semi-professional, college level, professional level. How has that helped you kind of build your roster so far for 2024? I mean, I know you got plenty of teams to look at for talent out there.
Well, so yeah, they take their football very, very seriously out there. I actually went to a couple high school games, one in Odessa and one in Midland, and their stadiums are just incredible. They're like college stadiums. But when I start talking to players about, when they say, hey, where is it? And I start telling them about Friday Night Lights and the area, and their eyes, their ears perk up, right? And so some guys are like, hey, that's a long way away. And then my selling point to them is, so you're not going to take a football opportunity because it's a long way away, but it's just a different culture out there. They're very, ingrained in that Permian oil basin. So there's a lot of gas and oil companies out there, obviously. But football is very, very important to them, and they take a lot of pride. I have to give a shout out to, University of Texas Permian Basin out there that just hosted their first ever playoff game, D2 playoffs. Coach Chris out there, I've been following him on Twitter and communicating with him a little bit. And unfortunately, they lost yesterday 10-3. I think it was to Bemidji State. I don't know. But excited to see them elevate their program as well. And I believe there's some works of building them their own on-campus football stadium. So football is huge in Texas. I think everybody in the world knows that. And we have to put that kind of effort and product on the field, because if we don't put the best product on the field out there, then my tenure will be very short. And I don't plan on making it a short tenure.
Oh, looks like we lost Chris there for a minute. Real quick before we get out of here, I know you're a business owner yourself. Why don't we go ahead and shout out your companies real quick?
So, well, my wife's company is Lowball Louis. It's a cigar company. She's got a chain of 9 retail tobacco stores, and she's just a rock star in the cigar industry. She grew up around the industry. Her father was a distributor, but if anybody needs the high end cigars, it's lowballlouis.com. We'll get it hooked up. So as far as me, I did the real estate thing here in Central Florida. We have a small boutique firm. A good friend of mine is the broker at Lakeside Realty Windermere. I tell people it's a small firm, but pound for pound, we're the big dogs in Windermere, Florida. But love the agents there. It's been great. It's been a blessing being able to do that. So right now, I'm a desert hog. So time to take this team to the highest level, and hopefully we're playing July 20th in Minnesota at the Arena Bowl. At least that's the goal. And if we stay healthy, I think we're going to be at least in the talks.
Well, Coach, really excited for you to make the transition back to the sidelines. I appreciate your time, and I wish you best of luck this season.
I appreciate you guys inviting me on. It's been a blessing. I know my schedule was kind of crazy the last few days, but thanks for being patient with me. And, hopefully we stay healthy. I think that we're going to we're going to be a tough team to beat.
I would definitely agree. Your roster is shaping up nicely so far. Some definitely interesting players on there.
It's not bad. We're happy about our roster so far, and it's only going to get better.
I can only imagine. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate you carving some time out for us.
Thank you.
I'm a game changer.